Hey, hello everyone, and welcome to your NARSA weekly update for the week commencing Monday, the 24th of April 2023. It's Gary here again, and oh dear, well, what a rude awakening this week turned out to be, eh? Oh my word, yesterday was literally the best and worst that Rangers have to offer, and it just doesn't bode so great heading into this weekend's do or die semi-final against that mob, does it? Not great, not great viewing, kind of limping along. Let's get the crap stuff out the way and then we'll get to stuff that's a wee bit more positive as we go forward. So just the one game this past week, as you know, and it was Sunday's repeat of kind of what has blighted us this season. Actually, do you know what? Maybe it's even what's blighted us out of kind of four of the last five seasons, and I can say that with a little bit of the benefit of hindsight, and that was yesterday's 2-0 defeat to Aberdeen. And what I actually learned this morning, and it's obviously a bit poignant for us, it's the first time that we haven't scored under Michael Beale's reign as Rangers manager. So another kind of poignant, not one that we want, but nevertheless poignant circumstance for the team to kind of absorb and take forward. And when I say four out of the last five seasons, I am of course leaving 55 out of that, as that one was a historic season on so many levels. But the other four seasons, we've kind of blighted ourselves with lots of possession. Now, I appreciate that we were building or rebuilding from previous regimes and still getting ourselves back up to the pinnacle of Scottish football. So just add that little bit of temperance to that. But the feeling I've got now is kind of the feeling I've had through all those times as well. We have lots of possession, we have lots of chances, and we have a relative inability to put those numerous chances away. And then we look like, or certainly it feels to me anyway, that we could lose a goal during any attack by the opposition at any point in the game. And maybe that last one is a wee bit unfair, but I personally feel now that we, it's kind of like we've got inbuilt absolute mistakes, in our DNA now. And it's across the defence, of course, but, the whole team has a part to play in this. And I also feel that other teams can sense that. And they are constantly on the prowl for the type and style of mistakes that we can make. Like anytime we make a mistake, and I know I've said this a number of times before, there always just seems to be someone in and around the area to capitalise on that mistake and either draw a save out of the goalkeeper or score a goal. That's what it seems to be. And I'm like, how do we not get that sort of luck at the other side? Maybe it's actually not luck. At the end of the day, it's them saying, these guys are good for a mistake. Be alert as much as you can. Take a gamble now and again. You never know what will happen. The ball might fall to your feet and then you get an opportunity to score, because this just can't be a fluke. It just can't be. And the real frustration there is that they're not just misguided passes when we're put under immense pressure from the opposition or anything like that. Most of the time they are just naive, they're just lazy, sometimes comical, definitely stupid, and most of the time downright amateur mistakes. I run and manage and play on a team here of old farts over in Calgary, and I criticise guys for making those mistakes. I make those mistakes every single game. That's why I run the team, by the way, so that I still get to play. No joke. And I do a recap after every game, and if somebody makes a mistake like that, they get lambasted, all in the spirit of, you criticise the people you love, west of Scotland type atmosphere. But, that they genuinely do, and I genuinely take my licks for doing that sort of stuff as well. But when you put this into the professional arena and at the very pinnacle of Scottish football, to see them making passes that aren't on, not fighting as much as the opponent, not really reacting correctly or reacting at all sometimes to either you or your teammates' errors, then oh my God, the list can go on and on and on, but it's just so disappointing. And of course, it comes after they surprisingly drop a couple of points on Saturday, where we have a chance then to push their title win a wee bit further down the road. But we just didn't take the opportunity, and that's actually nothing new for us, to be quite honest. I did look with interest at the Arsenal and Southampton game at the weekend there as well, and the literal top versus bottom of the table clash. And how many times have Rangers done that? I know we're not at the top right now, but how many times over the years have we done that, where in some way we just seem to manage to play down to the opposition, and then Arsenal scraped a draw just as they are continuing to throw away the league title down there. Anyway, enough about that. So in summary, I thought we did start the game pretty well, and we had a lot of really good possession, and we're pinging the ball around very well. No real complaints. In fact, we kind of did that for most of the first half, to be fair. Alfredo Morelos had a superb first half hour or so, then seemed to just take a wee bit of a holiday for the remainder of the game. Kind of, didn't he? That's kind of what we're getting from him these days. But he did have an absolutely brilliant opportunity to score the opener after a terrific ball in, headed down by Fashion Sakala, and then he just had that superb bit of control and then spun on a 50 pence piece for the folks back home, or a dime for the folks in North America, and got a brilliant shot away, only for it to be cleared superbly well off the line. That was great defending there, nothing to do with anything Alfie done, not to open the scoring. And then not too long after that, Fashion Sakala, this guy, he just one of those games for us, didn't he? One bit of brilliance followed by it looks like this guy never actually played this game before series of moments. He's put clean through, and I'm pretty sure I'm not alone in thinking, as he went through on a brilliant Malik Tillman pass, and not the only one of the day, by the way. The feeling I had was that I wouldn't be surprised if he misses this, because that's just what he does. And sure enough, he took the safe and easy option, and the goalie saved it. There was no instinctive stuff there. An informed striker or someone with a bit more predatory instincts would take the ball around the goalie and just tap it home, but he doesn't seem to have that in his armoury for right now. Borna Barisic also hits the outside of the post, and things are just kind of ticking along nicely. No real complaints, just apart from not getting that opening goal. Of course, we did have a wee bit of hairy defending towards the end of the half, with some blatant giveaways and things like that, but I wasn't overly worried at, going in 0-0 at half time, and then I'm expecting good things in the second half. Nope. Our second half was absolute utter garbage pretty much the entire half. They get an absolute fluke of a goal, completely engineered, honestly, by ourselves, from a suicide pass from James Tavernier to Alfredo Morelos, who looked like, one, he wasn't anticipating it, and two, he was never getting it, and then he has a bit of a half-hearted attempt in trying to move to the ball, but their defender just goes in, snatches the ball, puts in a cross, and boy does he mishit it. I believe probably the wind had a bit of play in the goal as well, and it just sails right over Alan McGregor into the net. Nothing to do with McGregor or his positioning or anything, it's just an utter fluke. But the real kicker for me here is that he's in the position to do that by our own lackadaisical stupidity, and then not long after that we just don't get near their guys, and two or three passes come out on their left or right, and then a cross comes in, and their guy, who is offside, puts in, it was a very good header, to be very fair. VAR takes an age to get it all checked, and we're all anticipating in the pub over here in Calgary that it's going to be chalked off, because you can see clearly that he's offside, but nope. And once again, it's a pity VAR never took the same amount of time at Sharkhead a few weeks back there, and things would be a wee bit slightly different, I suspect. So the game is pretty much done at that point. James Tavernier has a great chance, and as the second half continues to and just put it too close to the goalie, and to be fair to the goalie, he has a good save. And then Rabi Matondo, who just is kind of basically the same as Fashion Sakala, isn't he? He's all pace and not a whole bunch of other stuff to get too excited about. He takes a great ball, and I think that might have been from Malik Tillman again, actually. He was kind of in and about creating the chances. Takes a great ball, controls it, shoots early, and then for some bizarre reason it swings outward instead of inward and hits the outside of the post. So that just kind of confirms it. It wasn't our day, I'm afraid, and 2-0 is how it ended. Positives from the game: the first half, certainly the first 30, 35 minutes or so, there wasn't a whole hell of a lot wrong with our pace or endeavour or intensity to try and get something from the game. I thought overall John Suter played pretty well too, and we did have some young boys on the bench to get a wee bit of experience in and around the first team squad, which will hopefully bode well for the remainder of the season and into next. Other than that, there wasn't a whole hell of a lot of positives from the game. Negatives from about the half hour, 35 minute or so mark was just way below par. The defensive lapses for both goals just wasn't cool, and neither, in my opinion, was the stupidity of VAR's decision for their second goal, albeit I appreciate, cards on the table, and with full disclosure that I am looking at things through royal blue tinted glasses on occasion. Fashion Sakala, as I mentioned earlier, is frustrating. Very nice guy, does some brilliant things very well, but is just so inconsistent even in game. Alfie dropped out of the game. Cantwell, he was kind of all over the place. I got a wee bit frustrated with him yesterday, and I'm not 100% sure why. I'd maybe need to watch the game back again and see whether my frustrations were actually justified or not. But he just wasn't quite himself. A couple of passes straight out, or he was trying to shout for a pass and then the pass came and it just let it go straight out. It was just one of those dung games, to be honest. Davies just feels like an accident waiting to happen now. I don't know if that complete bizarro incident to gift Celtic the game in the game there a couple of weeks back has just absolutely shattered the guy's confidence, but he is genuinely an accident waiting to happen. And Michael Beale not subbing more effectively, and when I say more effectively, I mean earlier in the game, was just garbage. Now, I don't know if that's to do with the game's already gone, it's not material to the title challenge, let's just keep the guys on the pitch to get more minutes and hopefully get no more injuries prior to this week's semi-final. Or if he's looking at the bench and saying there's no one here that's going to impact the game, I'm not 100% sure. But when you've got a bench filled with, supposed quality players, and we don't even give them the opportunity to come on. I mean, Scott Arfield changed the game on its head last year by 2 goals in injury time, and he brought him on in the 88th or 87th minute or something like that. Come on, man. Just garbage. And then Aberdeen, of course, at the end, acting like they won the World Cup and every Olympic event and the World Heavyweight Championship all in the same game, when in reality what it did do was it brought them to within 26 points of us. That was kind of embarrassing. I would be embarrassed if I was them and their fans, but what else do you expect from that bunch of absolute clowns? From a stats perspective, we had 75% possession away from home and still didn't get anything from the game. We had 12 shots, 3 on target to their 7, 4 on target, so they had more on target than we did, but it just didn't feel like a very chance-rich game to me. But the stats and the possession and shots, you would be justified to thinking that we ran out comfortable winners, but obviously that's not the case. On the referee watch, okay, so Nick Walsh was on VAR duty at Sharkhead a few weeks back and then had the quickest VAR check, was part of the quickest VAR check probably in the history of VAR to effectively, gift that mob the title, or certainly start the motions towards gifting that mob the title. And he more than played his part in this one too. For years and years and years, it's been very well known and very obvious that the Aberdeen players rotate the fouls of our key players around several players in their squad, thus kind of escaping the attentions or the direct attentions of the referee. I mean, this is so obvious. Todd Cantwell puts in one challenge, not too dissimilar, by the way, from what the Sheep were doing the whole game, and he gets booked instantly. My understanding is that he get booked for persistent fouling, which is just incredible. And then that mob continue to do this throughout the entire game and only ended up the game with 2 yellow cards. And by the way, both of those were issued, in the last 10 minutes, 83 and 86 minutes or so. Not one Rangers player was discussing this at all with the referee at any point during the game that I could see on RTV. And our management team would rather talk about anything else other than referees. I don't know if that's a strategy or that's just a core value or whatever it is, but that is exactly why teams like Aberdeen can get away with this. And I'm not asking for us to go on a cheating campaign like that mob from the East End, but just call it out. Just call out what you absolutely see. Say it like you see it, and then move on. And slowly but surely it'll be mentioned enough that the playing field will at some point become a bit more even for us. But the way we're doing it right now, it's never going to be even. It's never going to be level. And as I mentioned, I thought the VAR decision for their second goal was wrong. and that completely changed the complexion of the game. It put it too far out of reach for us, as it turns out. So with all that said, he and his VAR brethren are going to get 3 out of 10 this week. Just manage and referee the games better, you lot. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, 3 out of 10. Let's just leave it at that. So what I did here today, on just a wee interesting tidbit, if you don't listen to the Heart and Hand Network, I'll just give you a wee bit of an overview, was that with Connor Goldson in the starting Rangers lineup, Rangers lost 19 goals in 23 games. So that's 0.82 goals per game with Connor Goldson in the team. That still feels a wee bit high to me. It does. You know, we shouldn't be losing that amount of goals in the games, but then just imagine a lot of those games were under Gio's reign, and Gio's reign just stuttered to an abrupt halt, last year as well there. So there's a wee bit of context there. With Goldson out of the team, we've lost 15 goals in 10 games. So 0.82 goals per game with him in the team, 1.5 goals lost with him out of the team. I mean, wow, that is very, very, very telling for us. I mean, that's almost double. And I'm sure other teams are aware of this too. You know, Connor is prone to mistakes as well, but the value that this guy, the statistical value at the very least, that this guy brings to the heart of our defence cannot be understated. And I truly, really hope and pray that he's going to be back, if he's fit, for the semi-final, because we could be doing with the former and not the latter in terms of goals lost per game, especially against that mob. So with that result, of course, as I mentioned, coming on the back of them losing points, just to rub it in a wee bit more, we have now 5 games to go. The split is now in effect, and we are 13 points behind them, so they will win it in the first game after the split, which I'm fairly sure is not going to be against us. I imagine it would be like the third or fourth game after the split. I can't see them doing it in the last game of the season, so maybe third or fourth game, who knows. Maybe by the time you listen to this, the fixtures will be announced, and this part of the pod will be a little bit redundant. But anyway, so one game this week, and it's the Scottish Cup semi-final against that mob, of course, and that's at Hampden Park on Sunday, the 30th of April, with an 8:30 Eastern Standard Time kickoff. That's 1:30 in the UK. I have to say, and maybe this is the way things work, or maybe it's not, who knows, but I feel like we're due some solid refereeing in this game, some big performances from our big players, and maybe just a wee bit of luck against that mob. And when I say solid refereeing, referee exactly what you see, make it consistent in game, and you will have absolutely no complaints from me whatsoever. I'm not asking for any favours. I'm not asking for you to call something that you don't see. Just referee the game, exactly the way that you see it, and make it absolutely fair and consistent for both teams. That's all I am asking for. And I just don't feel, quite honestly, that we get any luck against them. They seem to get every single break. Again, maybe that's back to what I was saying earlier, the anticipation of the mistakes that are being made, because every time we do a bad pass, it seems to lead to either a goal or a chance at a goal. Other teams must know that. I know I'm repeating myself now, but other teams must know that. So hopefully, if other teams know that, Michael Beale and his team know that, and just cut out the garbage and just get ourselves organised. So hopefully all that comes to fruition on Sunday. But I have to say, based on yesterday, I mean, we really truly have no idea which version is going to show up on Sunday, do we? And even at the beginning of the game, if we start well, who knows how that's going to end up as well. Get the first goal, see where it goes from there. I don't think that mob are anything like the world beaters they're portrayed to be, but they're just better than us right now. And this is telling in a whole bunch of different ways. It could be some of the older guards' last opportunity to play against them, and why would you not want to go out with a bang and really take it to them and give ourselves a chance to win some silverware in Michael Beale's first kind of 2/3 of a season as manager of the club. Sets a bit of a marker for next season, and gives us something to get excited about, because if we lose this game on Sunday, then the rest of the season is just a bogey, and we'll start to see the young players come in. And as I think I mentioned last week, I will be standing pretty much on my own at Pin Bar. Maybe we won't even open for some of the games, because driving all the way downtown and kind of standing on my own, especially if there's no beer being served, then there is not much fun in that. It's truly make or break for us folks, and we just need to see how it goes. Hopefully Beale's strategy of resting some key players will actually work to our advantage, and we'll get the result that we need. For RTV for the weekend there, I didn't hear a thing, and I was actually just commenting to my sister Debbie on the way home after the game yesterday. That was probably one of the best feeds we've had in Calgary, and for the Aberdeen game, it was flawless. The login experience was great, not one bit of buffering the entire game, and the picture was absolutely clear, crystal clear. So I don't know if that's maybe correlating with us, just basically piggybacking Sky Sports feeds or whatever, but it was brilliant. There was that worry of the feed not working was taken away completely. So hopefully that's the same this week. For shout outs this week, I'm going to go on a bit of a limb for this one. I was actually going to say I don't have any shout-outs for this week. There's nothing that has been presented to me. There's nothing that I know of that's going on specifically. So if you have told me about a particular shout-out and I've forgotten, and I apologise, and please tell me again. But I think I'm going to go out on a limb here, as I say, that last Thursday, the 20th of April, Jimmy Hutchins, who is the pioneer or one of the pioneers at least, of the Rangers Supporters Club of Calgary, I think he was 70 years old last Thursday. He posted something on the NARSA Communications WhatsApp group that it was his birthday on Thursday, but I forgot to ask him at the game yesterday whether that was actually true or not. So I did a wee bit of kind of detective work on my own, and I remember I sold him a t-shirt on the Sunday after the convention in Calgary. This is true. And that was in 2008, by the way. And I remember he took his shirt off to see if this other shirt would fit him. And I was like, oh my God, put your shirt back on. Nobody wants to see that. And he says, hey, I'm no bad looking for 55. That's what he said at the time. It always stuck with me just because of he wasn't exactly in shape, to be dead honest here with you. And then, so I thought, well, 2008, and this is 15 years later. My basic mathematics, if it genuinely was his birthday last week, then it should have been his 70th, I think. So, if that's true, Jimmy, happy birthday, happy 70th birthday. That's a big one, and many happy returns. I hope that Maureen spoiled you and you got everything that your hearts desired for your birthday. Happy birthday from me personally, of course, and happy birthday from everyone at NARSA. If it happens to be that one, it wasn't his birthday last week, and or two, he wasn't 70, then just ignore this part of the shout out and this part of the pod this week, and we'll move on and say absolutely nothing about it ever again, okay? But happy birthday. You know what? I've got this wee confident feeling that I might be right. I did reach out to him this morning to ask him, but he didn't get back to me yet, because old people don't really know how to work the phones that well. Anyway, on to the convention update for this week. I can confirm that it is 52 days and 7 weeks until Toronto Midtown host the biggest bash of the Overseas Rangers year. And we did meet with the hotel last week and had a very productive chat about limiting our exposure, limiting NARSA's exposure, that is, to due to the less than anticipated numbers that seem to be showing up for this one. We will be meeting them again this week to solidify what that means, and we'll be in a position to communicate that a little bit later on this week and certainly on next week's pod as well. But what I would say is that if you're intending to stay at the hotel with us but you haven't booked yet, you're going to be out of luck, literally, imminently, as in maybe this week. I have had just on top of that, I have had a few folks contact me about some challenges that they're having with some of the rooms, more so if they're trying to book something prior to the court dates or maybe after the court dates as well. And my apologies that if I haven't got back to you yet. I think I've probably got about 3 of those. What I want to do is get on with the reservations manager over at the hotel and just walk through each of them, because the answers I get back are actually quite frankly confusing, and I can't really take that back to the folks that I've asked as well. So apologies for the delay on that. I'm not ignoring you, but we'll get to that one maybe this week, but maybe next week or so. But yeah, as I say, if you haven't booked your hotel but you think that you're going to be able to do that for the NARSA rate a little bit closer to the event, you're not, folks. You're just not. And we have received a few, and by the way, it's only been a few, and for me probably 2, maybe 3, I don't even know if it is 3, inquiries about Thursday and Friday night packages going on sale. Well, on that, I am absolutely delighted to tell you that your NARSA executive met last Thursday evening and agreed that we would be putting on a 2-night package for Thursday and Friday night only tickets for $100 Canadian in total. So $100 Canadian, you'll be able to get your packages of Thursday and Friday night tickets, and we'll get that out later this week, hopefully Wednesday, maybe Thursday at the latest, and whomever just wants to come along for those nights is more than welcome to, and you can get access to those through the NARSA convention page. You'll just click on the tickets and then you'll get the two options, one for the 3-night and one for the 2-night packages as well. So delighted to get that one going. We had to wait on a couple of things. One was the hotel to confirm the event space, how many we could fit in on the Thursday and Friday nights in a kind of reception style setup, and then secondly for the NARSA executive to get together and discuss and agree on what would be an appropriate charge for those as well. So those two things happened last week and we're in a position now, so stay tuned on that for this week and get your tickets booked if that's something that's of interest to you as well. Another reminder, if you're back home and you're looking for some help and support to get your tickets or travel or accommodation, you can go to the Holiday and Flight Centre at theconvention.com. That's at theconvention.com, and you'll see what Rosie and her team have to offer there. But Rosie and team will also be restricted by the same parameters as I was discussing a wee bit earlier, in terms of there will be no hotel rooms left. We are not holding back on any more because we can't. We don't want to pay out money for nothing here. On other guests, we have an additional guest joining us for this year, and this time he is sponsored by the host club, the Toronto Midtown Rangers Supporters Club, and it's none other than friend of NARSA, Mr. Gordon Smith. So as for folks that regularly attend conventions, you'll know that Gordon is a regular VIP attendee and of course a past MC back in 2017 in Las Vegas as well, and he was actually definitely one of the ones on our list to reach out to if we had seen an uptick or a surge in ticket sales, but we didn't quite get there. But thankfully the Toronto Midtown boys and girls have managed to secure him, and he will be joining Willie Henderson, Mark Haitley and Andy Gray, and of course accompanied by Heart and Hand's very own David Edgar. So that's a great thing. He's absolutely brilliant value. He's an absolute gentleman and he's always good company. Very, very good speaker as well. So delighted to have Gordon coming along, and congratulations and thank you to the Toronto Midtown folks for doing that as well. Andy Burnett over at Toronto Midtown did ask me to mention this week that we have 1 week left to sign up for golf to get entered into the draw for the Toronto Maple Leafs golf bag as well. You might have seen some of that stuff on social media, that if you sign up for the golf within the next week, you will get access to the random draw for the Toronto Maple Leafs golf bag. If you support any other team other than the Toronto Maple Leafs, then maybe that's not so motivating for you, but then you can take it and gift it to a person who is a Maple Leafs fan and go for there. It's actually a very, very good looking bag if you're into that sort of thing. And there's now two prices for the golf as well. As for golfers, you'll know that the $235 was the cost for the golf, the full entire golf day out, and that included transportation to and from the event. Now the second price that they've got here is $195 if you make your own way. If you live in and around the Toronto area and you're just going to drive there and drive back on your own, then you get a $40 discount for that as well. So $235 if you're going to take the full suite, the full package, and get the bus. The bus is always a great laugh to and from the golf. And $195 if you're just going to do your own thing. And it's the same for the brewery tour on the Saturday afternoon as well. 2 tiers of tickets there, $50 all in. That includes transportation to and from Amsterdam Brewery. $30 without the transportation to and from the Amsterdam Brewery. And when I say to and from, that's of course to and from the hotel as well. So yeah, again, a wee bit more flexibility there for folks that are more local and would like to kind of do their own thing as well. So hopefully that entices folks to get a wee bit more involved, because I'm sure both of those events are going to be absolutely brilliant as well. On to other business. As I mentioned over the last wee while, the 2023 AGM is going to be an election-based AGM, and last week was our deadline, and the deadline window slammed shut. I think that's what I used in terms of wording last week. So that slammed shut last week, and here is what we know. Now, the Vice President has been confirmed again as Brian Campbell, voted in by acclamation. We have both the Secretary and the Treasurer positions open. We have the Broadcast and RTV Director confirmed as Alan McWatt, voted in by acclamation. The Convention Director is Billy Ferguson, voted in by acclamation. and the Marketing and Sponsorship Director is Nicola Fatkin, who is voted in by acclamation. On the Communications Director front, we have a pending election between Andy Burnett from Toronto Midtown, Fraser Muir from Vancouver Downtown, and Lorraine Spence from London. And we will over the next wee while get all three on the pod separately, just in case there's any sort of massive debate that goes on. You don't want to miss that. You want to see that in person on the day. But you'll hear from them on the pod at some point, and I'll give them the opportunity to tell everyone why they put themselves up, what they think they can bring to the role, how they think that's going to progress NARSA as we go forward, to give you a wee bit more information. And you might have already seen as well that Lorraine Spence put a note out to the member clubs there last week, I believe it was, just to introduce herself and say who she is, why she's interested in this role, and moving on as well. You might hear from Andy and Fraser under a similar media too as well. So a little bit of campaigning going on, a little bit exciting if you're into that sort of thing as well. I'm quite excited by it, so hopefully you are too. So what that means is that we will be accepting nominations and seconds for both the Secretary and Treasurer roles right up to and including the AGM. If you put your nomination and second in now, the acclamation deadline has passed. That was last Monday, so it will go right up to the wire. Quite honestly, I would even entertain a combined Secretary-Treasurer if it came to that, but the Constitution dictates that they are separate positions, so that's the way that will absolutely proceed. But if someone says, look, I don't mind doing a bit of both, then we would certainly have the opportunity to have that conversation. As I mentioned before, if you have core skills in secretary or administration type duties, then we definitely want to hear from you on that, and even more so with treasurer. I think I mentioned last week, or certainly at some point over the last wee while, that I believe our finances are not complicated. If you have someone, a true numbers person who works in the numbers all day, every day, I think our stuff will be an absolute scoosh for you to get it organised, to get it updated, to get a relationship with the bank, and then just kind of move forward from there. So if that's in any way enticing for you, then please do get in touch, and I'm happy to talk to anyone about both of those roles to see whether they might be a fit for you going forward. On the comms front for this week, not a whole hell of a lot going on, but the big news from the boardroom at Rangers Football Club this last week was that there was no big news from the boardroom last week, which is a bit of a relief, isn't it? You know, or maybe it's not a relief. I don't know. It depends how you feel about the current board or not. But you know, with Mr. Park being replaced by Mr. Bennett and Ross Wilson exiting over the last wee while, maybe it's not the worst thing to have a wee bit of calm for a week or so. But other than that, the last thing I just did want to mention, I know I've mentioned it over the last couple of shows, is that the Glasgow Rangers Nation podcast that is hosted by Victoria Serrell from Bramalea, I've been trying to get on that for the last wee while. Our next tentative date is a week from today, and that's going to be Monday the 1st of May. So we'll see if we can pick that one back up and actually make it happen, and actually get the word out there. If it's going to happen, we'll certainly let everyone know over our regular communication channels. Okay, my friends, that will do it. As always, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you very, very, very much for taking the time to listen, and please do share it with whomever you think might enjoy it. Even if you think they won't enjoy it, just share it anyway, please, will you? And until next week, Rangers, let's just give us something to cheer about and look forward to, up to, including, and after the semi-final on Sunday. Please come on. Until next week, folks, take care and all the very best, okay? Cheerio.